All right, America, buckle up. Get ready for a wild ride through the world of comedy and controversy. Comedian Bill Burr, known for his fiery takes as much as his stand-up, found himself in hot water. His sharp tongue and no-holds-barred style have always been his trademarks. Why? Wildfire jokes, folks. Not exactly your typical campfire story. These weren't just any jokes, they were incendiary, much like the wildfires themselves. Appearing on Jimmy Kimmel Live. Back in 2020, Burr, with his trademark gruff charm, decided California's misfortunes were ripe for the comedic picking. He didn't hold back, diving headfirst into the controversy. The Golden State was indeed having a rough year. Wildfires were just one of the many challenges they faced. Wildfires raged, fueled by drought and mismanagement. The flames consumed everything in their path, leaving devastation in their wake. Homes were lost, lives upended. The destruction was unimaginable, and the pain was palpable. Yet there was Burr, cracking wise about the whole thing. His irreverent humor spared no one, not even those suffering. He joked about Californians deserving it for their liberal leanings. His comments were as bold as they were controversial. He even suggested letting the state burn. It was a line that crossed boundaries for many. Now, comedy is subjective, right? What makes one person laugh might make another cringe. One person's side splitter is another's groan fest. Burr's humor often walks that fine line. But Burr's jokes landed with a thud for many. The room was divided, with some laughing and others shaking their heads. Those directly impacted by the fires, their reactions were far from amused. Well, let's just say their funny bones weren't tickled. The pain and loss were too real for humor to heal. Imagine losing everything in a firestorm, your home, your belongings, memories turned to ash. Now imagine a comedian, miles away, making light of your pain. Not exactly a recipe for healing, is it? Burr's jokes sparked outrage, particularly online. People accused him of insensitivity, of trivializing a tragedy. Some even called for him to be canceled. The backlash was swift and fierce, but the outrage ran deeper than just hurt feelings. Burr's jokes tapped into a wellspring of frustration with California's leadership. Many felt the state wasn't doing enough to prevent or manage the wildfires. They saw his jokes as a symptom of a larger problem, a disconnect between the ruling class and the people on the ground. Now, let's turn to someone who took a different approach. Mel Gibson. Yes, Mel Gibson. The one with the checkered past and penchant for controversy. Gibson, a longtime resident of Malibu, a wildfire hotspot, didn't take to the stage or the internet. He took to the streets. When fires threatened his community, Gibson didn't just evacuate, he jumped into action. He used his own resources, including his personal helicopter, to help firefighters battle the blaze. He provided support, supplies, and even rescued some residents from danger. Gibson's actions spoke louder than any joke or tweet. So, we have Bill Burr, the comedian who joked about California burning, facing the heat for his words. And we have Mel Gibson, the Hollywood star, often mired in controversy, emerging as an unlikely hero. It's a tale of two very different responses to the same crisis. Burr's approach, intentional or not, highlighted a sense of detachment. He was the outsider looking in, offering commentary from a distance. His jokes, while perhaps intended to provoke laughter, ended up fueling anger and resentment. Gibson, on the other hand, got his hands dirty. He didn't shy away from the flames, he ran towards them. His actions, while not without risk, resonated with people. He showed empathy, courage, and a willingness to put himself on the line for his community. The punchline we didn't expect: empathy and action. The contrasting responses of Burr and Gibson highlight a fundamental truth. In times of crisis, actions often speak louder than words. While humor can be a coping mechanism, there's a fine line between laughter and insensitivity. Burr's jokes, whether intended or not, underscored the growing divide in our society. A divide between those who experience hardship firsthand and those who observe it from a distance. A divide often exacerbated by wealth, privilege, and the echo chambers of social media. Gibson's actions, while not excusing his past transgressions, demonstrated the power of empathy and direct action. He didn't just talk about the problem, he became part of the solution. In a world often consumed by online outrage and performative activism, his approach felt refreshingly authentic. A deeper look at celebrity influence. The Burr-Gibson saga goes beyond just two men and their reactions to wildfires. It shines a light on the evolving role of celebrities in our society. In the age of social media, celebrities are no longer just entertainers. They are influencers, tastemakers, and whether they like it or not, role models. Burr's experience serves as a cautionary tale. It highlights the potential consequences of using humor carelessly, especially when it comes to sensitive issues. It also underscores the importance of context and awareness when addressing a global audience. Gibson, despite his past controversies, reminds us that actions can speak louder than words. His willingness to step up and help his community resonated with people, perhaps even challenging their preconceived notions. Comedy has always been a reflection of society, pushing boundaries and challenging norms. But as we move further into the 21st century, the question of where to draw the line becomes increasingly complex. Burr's Wildfire jokes also ignited a broader conversation about the boundaries of comedy. His controversial material sparked debates not just about taste, but about the role of comedians in addressing sensitive topics. In an era of heightened sensitivity and political correctness, what's considered acceptable humor? The line between funny and offensive is thinner than ever, and comedians must navigate this tightrope carefully. Can we joke about tragedy? This question has been at the heart of many debates, as humor can be a coping mechanism, but also a source of pain. Where do we draw the line? The boundaries of comedy are constantly shifting, influenced by cultural, social, and political changes. There are no easy answers. What might be acceptable in one context could be completely inappropriate in another. Comedy, by its very nature, is subjective and often provocative. It thrives on pushing boundaries and challenging the status quo. What's funny to one person can be offensive to another. This dichotomy is what makes comedy both powerful and perilous. But as our world becomes increasingly interconnected, comedians face the challenge of navigating diverse perspectives and sensitivities. They must be aware of the global audience and the varied cultural contexts in which their jokes will land. The Burr-Gibson clash highlights the need for comedians to be mindful of their platform and its potential impact. Their words can resonate far beyond the comedy club, influencing public discourse. It also underscores the responsibility of the audience to engage in thoughtful critique and discussion, recognizing that humor, even when it misses the mark, can be a starting point for important conversations. In the end, comedy remains a vital part of our cultural dialogue, reflecting and shaping the world we live in. A microcosm of a divided America? On the surface, the contrasting responses of Bill Burr and Mel Gibson to the California wildfires might seem like a simple case of a comedian making a tone-deaf joke and an actor stepping up to help. Burr, known for his sharp wit and often controversial humor, made headlines with his comments, while Gibson, despite his own controversial past, was seen actively participating in relief efforts. But look closer, and you'll see a microcosm of a larger societal divide. This isn't just about two celebrities. It's about the different ways Americans respond to crises and the underlying values that drive those responses. Burr's jokes, whether intended or not, tapped into a vein of cynicism and frustration that many Americans feel towards the perceived elite. His humor often reflects a broader disillusionment with institutions and figures of authority, resonating with those who feel marginalized or ignored by the mainstream. His willingness to poke fun at powerful institutions and figures, even if it means courting controversy, resonates with those who feel unheard and unseen. For many, Burr's comedy is a form of resistance, a way to voice their discontent and challenge the status quo. Gibson's actions, on the other hand, embody a more traditional form of heroism, one rooted in community, selflessness, and direct action. His involvement in the wildfire relief efforts highlights a commitment to tangible, on-the-ground assistance, reflecting values of personal responsibility and compassion. His decision to use his resources and influence to help those in need speaks to a different set of values, one that emphasizes personal responsibility and compassion. Gibson's approach is seen by many as a return to fundamental principles of helping one's neighbor and taking direct action in times of crisis. The clash between these two approaches reflects a deeper tension in American society, a tension between cynicism and hope, between detachment and engagement, between words and actions. This dichotomy is not just limited to the actions of Burr and Gibson, but is emblematic of a broader societal struggle. It's a tension that plays out not just in comedy clubs and on wildfire lines, but in living rooms and voting booths across the country. The way we respond to crises, the values we prioritize, and the actions we take are all part of this ongoing national conversation, and it's a tension that's likely to define our national conversation for years to come. As we navigate these divides, the actions and words of public figures like Burr and Gibson will continue to reflect and influence the broader societal discourse.